technology evolving at an unprecedented pace. Information ecosystems are becoming increasingly complex, and public trust, fragile as it must be earned and re earned every single day. In this context, how does Wikimedia communicate? How do we ensure that our message is not only heard but understood? How do we align affiliates, volunteers, and partners across the globe to tell one coherent story while honoring the diversity of our communities? Today's session, Voice, Vision, and Resilience. In this, we will explore how Wikimedia communications is evolving to meet these challenges. We will dive into what it means to be intentional messengers, communicators with clarity, purpose, and conviction. We will examine these lessons specifically for South Asian communities, and we will also discuss how we can safeguard Wikipedia's vital role as a global public good, not just for us, but for the generations yet to come. Now, to guide us through this important discussion, we are privileged to be joined by leaders whose career embodies the intersection of communication, law, journalism, and public service. She joined the Wikimedia Foundation in July 2019. Since then, she has served as Senior Director of Communications, Vice President of Communications, and currently as Chief Communications Officer. Before joining Wikimedia, she served as communications director at the John S. and James L. Knight Foundation, where she worked to promote more informed and engaged communities. Prior to that, she served as a communications officer with the United Nations, contributing to global peacekeeping initiatives, and as a communications consultant with the United Nations Population Fund. Her career began in journalism and law. She practiced employment law in Toronto, her hometown. She holds a Master's of Arts in Journalism from New York University and a law degree from Queen's University in Ontario. She serves on the board of trustees for the Communications Network and the Awesome Foundation Miami and is an active member of the Communication Network's Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Working Group. Her journey from courtroom from the United Nations to the Knight Foundation and now to the heart of the Wikimedia movement has equipped her with invaluable perspective on how stories shape our world. So everyone, please join me in welcoming a truly exceptional leader, Anusha. Anusha, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Manaza. Wow, that was a really nice intro. Thanks a lot. What's not in my bio also is that my roots are Hyderabadi, so I'm super happy to be with this community today. Today, as Manaza said, we're going to discuss some ways that we're using communications and in particular narrative strategy to tackle new challenges for Wikimedia in what is a changing information landscape and how we can all unite to be better messengers at this moment. Next slide, please. So just to set the stage, I know a lot of you know these stats already, but we want to contextualize. Let's go over some of these well-known stats. Wikipedia was born in 2001. It's a project built on a bold dream, as Manaza said, that every single human being can freely share in the sum of all human knowledge. Because of the energy and goodwill of volunteer editors, we have come so far in the last 25 years. Wikipedia now has more than 65 million articles, 300 languages, over of 250,000 volunteers, all coming together to create a living record of history visited 15 billion times every month. So it has been a period of incredible growth for us. Next slide, please. At the same time, we are facing new realities. People's trust in information and what they see online as a whole is wearing thin, and folks are finding their communities in new corners of the internet. AI-generated content and misinformation are flooding every digital channel, and the very idea of neutral, reliable truth is being challenged. Next slide, please. So this is a headline from when Wikipedia celebrated its 20th birthday in 2021. It reads, Wikipedia is 20 and its reputation has never been higher. And the other one is from last month when Wikipedia turned 25. The internet's favorite encyclopedia has never been more appreciated or at risk. So we still have a lot of trust, but we are in a different moment, clearly, than we were 5 years ago. Our mission really depends on remaining relevant in this environment, visible, uniting as a movement, and keeping trust with our public audiences so that we're able to rally supporters, including donors and advocates, to stand up for our future. So, all this to say, I might be biased, but the way we communicate is central to that work. Next slide, please. So, to tune into changes in society, technology, the regulatory environment, our communications, and our wider planning is shaped by this question: what does the world need from us now? The question itself requires a lot of humility and curiosity, and it reminds us that our work isn't about maintaining simply what exists, but also about anticipating new needs and responding purposefully when the ground shifts beneath us. It's how we adapt our communications, our priorities, and even the way we build trust with each other, our readers, and the countless partners who depend on Wikipedia as a public good. Next slide, please. So to meet this moment, we at the foundation, we track global trends that influence our work. We track them across consumers, creators, content, and policy. These also form the basis of our annual plan. So why these four? Out of many possible areas, we choose these because they represent a core pressure point that actively shapes Wikipedia's and Wikimedia movement's future. And by extension, the health of open knowledge everywhere. So for consumers, as you can see on this slide, what we're seeing and what is defining a lot of our work this year is that trust in online information is eroding and people no longer agree on what constitutes trustworthy knowledge. Creators are seeking community and what they perceive to be more connected, interactive online spaces. For example, TikTok and subscription channels on YouTube. And when it comes to content, the explosion of AI means human verified, trustworthy information is now more precious than ever. On the policy front, new laws and ongoing fights over neutrality and facts could limit information access or make it riskier to contribute. These trends in relation to the WMF annual plan are extremely important for our community to be aware of and engage with. Currently, we are in the drafting phase of the next annual plan, and we're going to have multiple conversations about it, like this one, to guide our work. Next slide, please. So these trends set the stage for developing a strong narrative strategy to protect the future of Wikipedia and Wikimedia projects. All of us can be messengers for it. And in doing so, first, we promote cohesion. With so many moving parts, it's easy for communications to sound fragmented or even contradictory. But a strong narrative acts as a through line. Second, narrative is indispensable for building trust. In a time when trust in online information is declining, we can paint a memorable picture for people and show how our mission matches what we do and say. And third, a good narrative strategy is about raising understanding. It's not enough to ask for support or participation. We need in this moment to clearly show why our work matters, how it responds to changing needs, and what makes us truly different in today's world. So when we invest in narrative strategy, it's not just about telling a story. It's about making sure all of us are adopting the same frame to communicate about our work in many different forums and spaces. Next slide, please. So global trends power narrative. They allow us to adapt proactively. This is not about predicting change. It's about treating it as a constant. It's about moving with our audiences, not catching up after the fact. Aligning priorities means choosing what's most important to communicate about. Global trends offer a clear roadmap for where to focus our communications, the areas that need the most attention and resourcing, and the stories that need to be told. The narrative strategy then acts as a guide on what will create the most impact and the areas that won't. Right now, people are attempting to hijack or manipulate narratives about Wikipedia. So anticipating detractors is about us setting the narrative. And finally, audience-wide engagement is the glue. Messengers are the glue too. When our audiences see the wider forces through the lens of global trends in relation to issues that they care about, that makes our mission important. And they also become messengers for our work. Next slide, please. So let's zoom in on content as an example of how we build our narrative strategy around a major trend. The image on this slide shows a struggle we're currently facing. AI output that's trained on machine-generated content downgrades not just visuals, but also knowledge. That's why digital information created and verified by humans is an essential asset in the AI platform wars, which is what our global trend around content says. Next slide, please. For a closer look at the landscape I'm talking about, let's take a look at this example. Right now, what we're seeing is a flood of low quality AI-generated content spreading online. This is overwhelming the internet and it's crowding out reliable information. That means trustworthy human-created knowledge is rarer, more precious, and more valuable. Tech companies are racing to scrape this kind of information from the web for their platforms and new AI search tools. Publishers, on the other side, are fighting back. So this is outside of the Wikimedia movement as well. They're negotiating licensing deals and they're putting up paywalls to protect their work, which means less free, high quality information for all. So we are very valuable in this moment. And that's the bigger landscape in which we find ourselves. Next slide, please. When it comes to this trend's impact on Wikipedia specifically, AI companies have reduced our visibility on the web, even as they reuse our content in bulk. In this new age of AI, people are getting Wikipedia information without going to Wikipedia directly. And that can put our fundraising and our content creation model in jeopardy, because without going to our site or knowing where the information they consume is coming from, people are less likely to donate to Wikipedia or get involved as editors. So the conundrum is Wikipedia content is more vital than ever, but less visible. So as a brand, we're at risk of Wikipedia slipping from public visibility. And this is particularly true among younger audiences with different preferences for consuming our content. Our internal data backs this up. So the data that you're looking at on this slide here is from our brand health tracker, which is a large focus group study that we run at the Wikimedia Foundation every 6 months in 12 key countries, and we rotate the countries. All of this is available on Meta as well if you want to take a look. The brand health tracker helps us to track progress against our goals and how global trends are affecting brand awareness, visibility, and affinity. And as you can see, it shows that visibility is declining for most digital brands, including Wikipedia, even though the data also tells us trust remains strong. Next slide, please. So I'm going to go through these a bit fast. Of course, you'll have the recording and we'll share this later, but in the interest of time, it is going to be quick. So here our data shows that AI summaries are making Wikipedia less visible on search, social media, and online generally. Next slide, please. The brand health tracker also looks at what we call the NPS score, which is the Net Promoter Score, which is a widely used measurement of how likely people will advocate for a brand. It takes the percentage of promoters and subtracts the percentage of detractors. Next slide, please. What we're seeing right now is that our NPS score is at its lowest since we started the brand health tracker 5 years ago. And this is also directly related to visibility, to showing up in different places on the web. Next slide, please. So South Asia, though, proposes an opportunity. Our NPS score is higher on average in South Asia than the global average. South Asians, particularly India, do show a strong positive disposition to the Wikipedia brand, and they're the second highest after our Central Europe and Eastern European region. At the same time, other brands also have a high NPS score, including ChatGPT. Next slide, please. So people's overall trust in us is high and stable, though trusting us intensely is lower. Next slide, please. This is true in South Asia as well, where there's a high level of trust in Wikipedia. Next slide. But where we want to get to is actually intense trust. And why does intense trust matter over, being well trusted? Adjacent research to the brand health tracker shows that trust is built based on a combination of competence, are you able to help me, and warmth, what is your intention towards me? And this slide sort of maps different brands on that scale. Next slide, please. But this is also subjective. ChatGPT and YouTube tend to have a higher warmth appeal than Wikipedia because of personalization. Whatever you see is determined by an algorithm, and you like what you see. And that algorithmic enhancement creates a high degree of dependency and gives rise to perceived trust, which produces an unconscious bias, and it translates to a higher degree of trust. Next slide, please. At the same time, there is more opportunity. We see that South Asians and Sub-Saharan Africans are the most interested in editing Wikipedia. And the least, in fact, is in North America and in the ECF region. Next slide, please. So compared to digital, the other good news is compared to digital platforms, we're seen to have more impact. Next slide, please. And that's likely because people, in fact, do see us as the backbone of trust on the internet. Next slide, please. So that was a lot of puzzle pieces. What's the big picture now? What does this trend around AI content really mean for Wikipedia? Here's how we're thinking about it. Human-generated content like that on Wikipedia is essential for AI companies to function. What our job is, what we need to convey, is that without Wikipedia, all of the places where you gather information, from search engines to voice assistants to ChatGPT, wouldn't be possible without human-driven information to draw from that has standards of reliability, neutrality, and transparency. Next slide, please. So here it is, our central narrative that drives our work. At the forefront, knowledge is human underpins the whole strategy. This is our unique value add and what we want people to know about us. The more humans take part in Wikipedia, the better the internet's knowledge becomes. Further, AI needs human knowledge. Wikipedia is the backbone for reliable, neutral knowledge online. And last but not least, Wikipedia is a global public good that defends free access to information. Next slide, please. So we're now putting this narrative into action. What you'll see in the next few example slides is that the narrative strategy proactively defines and reinforces consistent messaging across our strategic communications and beyond communications as well. So narrative strategy and this underlying knowledge is human narratives becomes our North Star. Next slide, please. So this slide shows how knowledge is human shows up in a whole range of materials. WMF's annual plan, our AI strategy, which was shared with the movement and the public, and our annual report, which is primarily for donors. These are all very different kinds of materials with different audiences, but they all link to the same narrative strategy, allowing us to continually strengthen and reinforce key messages that support our mission. Next slide, please. Another example of our narrative strategy in practice is the communications campaign for Wikipedia 25. I hope you've seen it. We launched it ahead of our major fundraising season. Our goal with this campaign is that is actually now ongoing as well throughout 2026, is not only to cultivate brand love, but also to educate people on the necessity of humans in the current environment and raise understanding about our model and the need to protect Wikipedia in this moment. Rasha, can you play? I hope it works.
All right, let's try this. And if you can confirm if you can hear, that would be great.
25 years ago,
Was that audible before I go ahead?
Yeah.
Wikipedia was a dream. A wildly ambitious, probably impossible dream. Fast forward, billions of readers. Hundreds of thousands of editors. From a 20-something in Tokyo to a father in Lagos. From a teacher keeping an endangered language alive to a fan updating the score at the final whistle. Wikipedia became the world's go-to resource. When you look something up, it's there. When you add to it, the whole world keeps learning. It's knowledge from all humanity, and you're a part of it. AI studies Wikipedia. Search engines copy it. Your smart speaker whispers it back to you.
Here's what I found on Wikipedia. I mean the internet.
And behind it all, people. Arguing, editing, and somehow agreeing. In a world where paywalls and advertising seem to be the norm, Wikipedia is still free, neutral, open, human. It's the internet we were promised. 25 years of knowledge, 25 years of collaboration, 25 years of consensus, 25 years of humanity at its best. The future of knowledge is yours to protect.
Next slide, please. Hope you enjoyed that. So these are more examples. Knowledge is human is all about humans, you. When Wikipedia content is scraped by AI bots and fed elsewhere, it's easy to forget the real humans who built it. Raising understanding means making our mission visible and real, and we all know people relate to people. For example, Wikimedia Bangladesh just published their annual report, and in 2025, the Bangla community created over 10,000 articles, uploaded over 70,000 media to Commons, and reached over 3,000 persons through their outreach activities. And also the team at, I think I'm going to mess up this acronym, but OKIIIITH are hosting various programs, including Train the Trainers to build and sustain the momentum. And the Hindi, Tamil, and Telugu communities are working on community expansion through a project supported by Google and WMF. Through our digital storytelling, blogs, and campaigns, we want to highlight these stories and the experiences of the volunteer editors who keep Wikipedia and Wikimedia projects alive as much as we can. This allows us to connect audiences with the people behind the content. Next slide. We also love to highlight stories of editors like Dr. Netha Hussain, who was a champion for educating people about COVID-19, or Hurricane Hank, who has added the most content about hurricanes to Wikipedia. We also created a hub on Meta for volunteers to use and be messengers for Wikipedia 25 with multiple ways to celebrate and spread the word. Many celebrations took place in South Asia, and I know DCW also hosted an event. So by sharing these colorful everyday examples, we show how our work constantly adapts to meet new needs and why it remains vital. Next slide, please. So the last example of how narrative strategy makes it into our policy work really highlights how policy in particular is a big priority for us, and it's helping policymakers understand how laws they pass might affect Wikipedia for better or for worse. The Wikipedia test was our creative, simple solution to helping these decision makers understand why protecting Wikipedia is so essential for a healthy internet. Next slide, please. So the test is a card game based on a series of illustrated action and consequence cards that you can see on the screen. Our narrative strategy was applied here in a few ways. You'll see that the creative concept, including the visuals and icons, demonstrates the real human impacts of the legislation. And this game is also a vessel to demonstrate one of our core narratives that I shared earlier. Wikipedia is a global public good that provides access to reliable and neutral knowledge. Next slide, please. So to recap, we can be better messengers for knowledge as human if we treat narrative as shared infrastructure, not decoration. A clear common narrative gives us a through line, so our messages don't sound fragmented, but instead reinforce each other and keep the movement cohesive. It also helps rebuild trust in a time when people doubt online information, because we can vividly show how our values, our processes, and our day-to-day work actually line up. And it raises understanding. Instead of just asking people to edit or donate, we explain why human-driven knowledge matters, how Wikimedia is adapting to new technologies, and what makes our projects different from everything else on the internet. In other words, investing in narrative is how we all learn to talk about our work with the same frame across many forums, so that people clearly see that behind every article and data set, there are real humans doing careful, values-driven work. Next slide, please. So when I think about the future, about the changes that AI may bring and how it'll shape the exploration people do for information, the thing that inspires me the most is, in fact, volunteers and the power of human curiosity. This commitment to human curiosity is an essential element of driving for openness, transparency, and societal values of good. So I want to end my talk with a celebration of human curiosity. All of you give me immense hope for the future. Thank you. And I think we're going to open to questions.
Thank you so much, Anusha. You have laid it out clearly for us today that the human-driven model of knowledge is being challenged. Neutral, reliable truth is being challenged. And in this landscape, you reminded us that how we communicate is not optional. It is central. It is an infrastructure strategy that we need to apply. And you also asked a powerful question: what does the world need from us? And the answer was humility, curiosity, and also the courage to anticipate what is coming rather than simply maintaining what exists, and it will stay with us. You also gave us a reason for hope, particularly for our South Asian community, as we present an opportunity, and we do hope that we will carry this energy forward to bring more content and edits and volunteers on into the Wikimedia movement. And also your closing thought bears repeating that human created and verified information is more precious than ever. It is AI that depends on us, and the world depends on us, and we must be intentional about how we show up. Thank you so much for your wisdom, your candor, and your vision. We are in a dedicated hour for our Q&A. You can drop them in the chat, or you can feel free to unmute yourself and ask a question.
Please go ahead.
Please go ahead.
Thank you, Anusha, for this detailed insights and this presentation. So my question is towards like the growth of the Wikimedia culture in general. So as we see Wikimedia grows in scale and introduces like new features, platforms, and new partnerships as well. So how can we as open communities can ensure that what are the technological or organizational changes that are being reinforced rather than diluting the core values of the movement in general, like the openness, neutrality, and editorial equity? What should be the realistic measures for us?
Yeah, I think that the core values are really strong. The harder part is getting people to pay attention and being able to explain how those core values interact with their daily habits of visiting Wikipedia in ways that people will want to listen when their attention itself is being pulled in so many different directions. One of the ways that we have done that is that we have focused on creating bite-sized content in order to introduce people to how Wikipedia works. One of the trends that we have noticed as part of both the creator piece and the contributor piece is that more and more people are not actually, with the younger audiences, are not looking to long form content, but rather they want succinct ways to understand how projects works and how they might be able to contribute. And so we are very much focused on creating digestible ways for more and more people to understand our movement, how it works, and what sits behind a Wikipedia article. It is still amazing to me that folks don't even notice that there is a talk tab at the top of the Wikipedia page as well as a history tab. And they're often pretty amazed when you point that out to them. But it's not something that's obvious. And I think that if we can be better guides for the anatomy of a Wikipedia page, then we can get a lot of understanding into how Wikipedia works and in fact, how vital it is to feeding information all over the internet. I hope that answered your question.
It does. It does very nicely. Thank you, Anusha.
Great.
You can type in your questions in the chat as well.
While people are typing and thinking about the questions, I just wanted to just probe a bit further on the global trends vis-a-vis South Asia and the community that we have here, and all of these individuals, of course, are ambassadors of our movement in the region. So any thoughts on how can we incorporate these trends more in some of the work that the community is doing in the region? Any thoughts on how can the community also become the ambassadors that we need to tell the world that there's humans behind this knowledge?
Yeah, I think that there's a variety of ways. First of all, I would say, a lot of this work is in fact done by WMF, but at the same time, what we always try to do is create assets that can be adapted into different languages as well as used in different forums. So if I were to take one example, we have a project that we called a Wiki Minute, and it actually does what I essentially just said. It delivers a bite-size account of how Wikipedia works from, like how it plugs into AI generated content, answering large questions about how we handle misinformation, about bias. This is a series of videos that are all 1 minute long. We have actually made them available in multiple languages, and we've also made them available without sound so that even if we don't have a language that's available in, volunteers can actually take that and adapt it to their own language communities. So that's just one example, but all this to say is often I find, if I'm being perfectly candid, when I visit different volunteer communities, is that there's a lot of reinventing the wheel. we should lean on each other. And the fact that people have created assets in different regions and different places all over the world. You all are great at also storytelling. You have posted multiple stories on Diff about how your community is doing the work of pushing free knowledge to local communities. Those can be shared all over the world. And like, you know, Wikimedia Foundation in turn uses these stories that you put on Diff to plug into our social media. And so I really think that part of the key here is seeing what's out there, adapting what we have so that like there's not more work to do. I know volunteers like are so dedicated to the mission, but like part of our job at Wikimedia Foundation is making it easier, in fact, for you to be messengers. So lean on what we have, and then focus really on the local storytelling. Because I think that what we can't do that you can absolutely do is surface stories of incredible volunteer contributions, and that goes beyond edits. And tell us about what your community is doing in various forums.
We also have a question by Jinoy in the chat. He asks, the communities in the Global South region are growing, but they are struggling with visibility, media reach, and institutional recognition. So how can the foundation invest in strengthening local communication capacities so that these communities are not just subjects of global storytelling, but are active narrators who are shaping the movement's voice?
That's such a great question. That's in fact where we want to get to. So part of what you saw with Wikipedia 25 is that we are mining stories from local communities so that we can tell them on a global platform. The struggle sometimes is that if we don't know about a story, then it's very difficult to tell it. So what we are focused on actually for next year's, it's interesting that you asked this question, is that we want to be able to support communities in being better messengers for the work. And we also want to be better messengers for your work. So we're in fact in the annual plan dedicating an entire piece of communications work to building those better messengers. And we perfectly realize that like sometimes we're the messenger and sometimes you are. So we just need to be better at shared lessons. And so part of that work is actually going to be focused on how we can keep the lines of communication open. So we're surfacing those stories at a higher rate.
Thank you so much, Anusha. Another question in this question is from Shada, that since South Asian communities show strong interest in editing and contributing to Wikipedia, what are some of the practical steps that regional communities can take to align with the Foundation's central narrative and help strengthen both visibility and participation?
So great question. I mean, as a start, I would say, look at the assets that we have already created. I think that those will come in handy. The other thing is that we are very aware of the fact that local communities may have a different view of messaging that works, right? So like we never assume that something that we have created or messaged for an audience in the US is going to sit exactly right in India, for example. And so that intel, providing feedback on what is out there to us and letting us know what will resonate most within local communities actually will help us to cater and create more assets that can be tailored to your local context. So I think that the information sharing piece there is really important.
Thank you. Now, I have a question. In regions where political or social polarization is very high, so how can affiliates remain intentional messengers without being perceived as taking sides?
This is such a great question, and it's something that we're facing in South Asia for sure, and also in many places across the world. How we have tackled that at the Foundation level is that we are leaning hard into the Wikimedia movement values and how we tell our stories. Every time we speak, we explain that we stand for neutral, well-sourced information that anyone can check and not for any political party or campaign. A good example actually from India is how communities documented and shared stories of Wikimedians quietly protecting election-related articles back in 2024, and watching for vandalism on candidate pages and reverting unreferenced claims, and also insisting that every statement is backed by a reliable source. We were actually able to work closely at that time with communities in India to tell a lot of stories in the media as well. And so we were able to underline at that time that we were not taking part in political discussions, but at the same time, we were making information on various issues available from a neutral point of view, so that Indian voters were much more informed about those issues. And the storytelling that we had around that was actually tremendous. So being able to lean into the values and then show real world examples of how Wikimedians are giving people fact-based, neutral information is, I think, really the key there.
Thank you so much. We also have a few minutes to take one more question. So if anybody has any, please feel free to ask. Afi says all the good questions have been asked. There was also one thing you alluded to in your presentation, that about AI content generation and how it downgrades the quality of the information as well. So we are in an era of deep fakes, and this information is being coordinated by multiple AI agents who are scraping information from reliable sources. So what are these specific safety nets that we can communicate to the public to reassure them of Wikipedia's reliability?
Yeah, so, the safety nets on Wikipedia are so strong. Going back to, the question that I answered earlier, the harder part is really getting people to understand what those safety nets are. Right now, as you said, Manaza, the internet is full of very confident fakes, perfect voices and perfect faces and perfect lies. So the question people really have is, why should I trust a website that anyone can edit? And the reassuring answer is, in my view, Wikipedia is the opposite of a deep fake. It wears all of its seams on the outside. Every article has 3 big safety nets. First, the rules are ruthless. Neutral point of view, verifiability, and no original research mean that you can't just drop in some sort of a spicy fact from a random video or meme. You need published, reliable sources, or it gets challenged and removed. And I think we can also remind the public that nothing is hidden backstage. Every word has a public history and a talk page where volunteers can argue and nitpick and sometimes obsess over just a single sentence, and readers can watch that drama anytime they like. And also, the last thing I'll say is that, we always tell people that there's a whole ecosystem of humans and tools that are standing guard. And those are the watch lists and the bots and the page protections on sensitive topics. So when any coordinated disinformation campaign is tried, there's usually a volunteer somewhere whose hobby is making sure that nonsense doesn't last more than a few minutes. So in an age of polished illusions, Wikipedia's message to the public is that we're trustworthy, not because we're flawless, but because we're transparent and we're obsessed with sources, and you can always look under the hood with us.
Yes, absolutely. Wikimedia is by the people and of the people. It is the volunteer community that makes it such wholesome part to be in. And I we are only five. We only have 5 minutes left, so we will not be taking any other question. Let me move on to the vote of thanks. On behalf of the Open Community Wikimedia, I extend our deepest gratitude, first of all, to you, Anusha, for your time, for your wisdom, and for your generosity. Thank you for being here, and thank you for the leadership you bring to our movement. And thank you to Rajat for being the facilitator. Without you, this session would not have been possible. So thank you for giving us the access to the resource. And thank you to Anusha's team as well for their support in making this possible. And for every participant who joined us today, your presence, your questions, and your engagement are what makes this community and conversation hours like this meaningful. And also to my team, the volunteers and the organizers who are working behind the scenes to create spaces like this one. The conversation hour is a monthly occurrence, and we invite you to our next conversation hour where we will continue to explore questions that shape our movement. Details will be shared on our communication channels in the coming days. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day or night ahead.
Thank you so much, everyone. This was wonderful. Appreciate you taking the time.